Good morning, Sea Dragons. I wanted to take a few minutes to go through the writing assignment that you have to do for Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. I realized after we had our Zoom yesterday that we really didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about that. So I thought it would be helpful for me to kind of go through it step by step. I have not written the paragraph ahead of time. I'm going to go through it step by step as though I'm actually writing it like a student. And I figured that would give you a more genuine idea of the writing process. So, first and foremost, thank you to those of you who submitted your attendance through the form. The form is posted in Classroom and in Canvas. And just a little bit of information. You guys really like Jake from State Farm. I like Jake from State Farm too. So a lot of you don't have favorite commercials at all, and I totally understand that. A lot of people think commercials are pretty annoying. So we've got some Jake from State Farm. A couple people really like the Flex Tape commercial too, which I thought was kind of fun. One from the Inside Out movie. So the Doritos commercials, some people said Super Bowl commercials. And again, we've got our State Farm here. So my whole reasoning behind asking you what your favorite commercial is that it's kind of in the same vein as thinking about persuasion and tools of persuasion. And so yesterday we were talking about rhetoric and ethos, pathos, and logos. And I mentioned that if you were taking English at Cape Fear, those are words that you're going to hear a lot more. And I just kind of wanted to get those words in your ears just so that going into Cape Fear, that wouldn't be the first time that you heard those words. So, of those ethos, pathos, and logos, pathos is really what we see the most in Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. So I am going to go to your paragraph prompt. That's really where you always want to start. So right now I'm in student view, but I'm going to have to leave student view in just a minute so that we can look at some of the videos, the Edgenuity videos to help us out. So if you are writing, if you're answering this question or responding to this prompt in Canvas, you're going to, again, submit your assignment, and you are going to copy and paste your paragraph down here. Now, I can't see the Edgenuity videos and be in student view at the same time, and so I am copying, and I don't need that anymore. Pasting, I'm going to open a new doc. Oops, looks like it's not pasting. Let me cancel that. I'm going to go through and copy it again. Oh, haha, pasted a whole bunch of times. Okay, well, let me delete all these others. All right, so I'm going to start with copying and pasting my prompt into my writing because that's going to be the starting point for my first sentence. So I'm literally going to take this question and I'm going to turn it into a statement. So the question reads, how does Edwards use vivid imagery, powerful word choice, and rhetorical devices to persuade his congregation and achieve his purpose? So take that out. And add his first name, Jonathan Edwards uses vivid imagery, powerful word choice, and rhetorical devices in Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God to persuade his congregation and let me get out there, so that goes away, and achieve his purpose. So my next step is to figure out what his purpose is. And so I'm going to say Jonathan Edwards uses vivid imagery, powerful word choice, and rhetorical devices in Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God to persuade his congregation to, maybe we could say, be more strict in their, let's say, I don't like that. I told you this is going to be like a genuine look at what happens when I write a paragraph. To be more devout in their Christianity. Basically, he's speaking to in his congregation. They're all Christian, but some of them are kind of backsliding a little bit, and some of them have, maybe they sleep in church and they're not taking it as seriously as Jonathan Edwards wants them to take it. And so we see through this very strong language that for Edwards, this is a matter of, I hate to say life or death, but it is a matter of suffering in hell for all eternity or going to heaven. And that's what he's trying to get his congregation to think about. So we're going to go through the order. We're going to start with vivid imagery. Now, I'm going to leave student view. And go to our modules. And the summary right before your paragraph assignment gives a lot of really good information. So I'm going to skip around until I find what I really wanted. Oh, you know what? Maybe it wasn't this one. It may have been the last one. I think it was. Let's go back. I think it was the last instruction video. It's going to be a long video. See, I got one wrong. There we go. This is what I'm looking for.
Welcome back. How do you feel after reading Jonathan Edwards' sermon? You're able to now read the provoked thought in his audience. Sensory experiences for the reader. So these images can appeal to any of the 5 human senses. Writers and I want you to try to visualize the image that he's creating through these specific words.
All right, so in the second page of the second instruction component of the module, she gives 2 examples. She gives this one, and then there's another one, I think, on the, if we keep going.
Words and phrases. The God that holds you over the pit of hell, much as one holds a spire or some loathsome insect over the fire, abhors you and is dreadfully provoked. So what do you see happening here? The image that he's creating for his colonial audience is this is all-powerful God that's holding you like a nasty insect, a cockroach or something, hanging you over a fire, trying to decide if he's going to drop you in and let you burn or save you from that fire.
All right, so really what I'm looking for in the paragraph is that you take the information that you learned in the video and kind of string it all together in your paragraph. So this one, the God that holds you over the pit of hell, much as one holds a spider or some loathsome insect over the fire, abhors you and is dreadfully provoked. Now, I can't copy and paste from this slide, but what I can do is go into actively learn and go to my find and find the content that I'm looking for. All right, so this is the example that she uses in the video of strong imagery. So let's use that. So we have Jonathan Edwards uses vivid imagery, powerful word choice, and rhetorical devices, and sinners in the hands of an angry God to persuade his congregation to be more devout in their Christianity. For instance, Edwards writes, and then I'm going to just paste it. All right. So, for instance, Edwards writes, the God that holds you over the pit of hell, much as one holds a spider or some loathsome insect over the fire, abhors you and is dreadfully provoked. Well, so before I move on to my next example, I have to explain why this is a good example of imagery and how this example of imagery helps Edwards achieve his purpose. So, so in this example of imagery, Edwards uses the image of a spider being held by be unforgiving by a, I don't say critical. We are the spiders. And this image emphasizes how loathsome Edwards thinks God sees us. It is our job to be less. All right, so the next we have is word choice. And so we're going to go back to our little video.
So what kind of emotion is created through that?
We have another example of imagery here if you wanted to use that one. You could really use any example.
Now, look at the passage again with the imagery highlighted. Right. Now, in addition to Jonathan,
I think our word choice video is maybe in a different section, but we could go back to actively learn and see what kind of language he uses to achieve his purpose. So I'm scrolling kind of fast here. We have the one word choice example is the use of the word provoked. And we have an explanation that you could use when transferring this to your paragraph. So, Edwards uses language carefully to convey God's anger. Remember, in our title, it says that he is an angry God. One example of this is his use of the word provoked. Oops, I didn't mean to cut that. Period. In saying that God's anger is provoked by humans, I guess. Us, we bear responsibility for this anger. Only through being a good, Christian, Edwards. Only through being a good Christian, can we make amends. Yes. All right. And then the last thing that we have is rhetorical devices. So remember those rhetorical devices, that's when you ask someone a question, but you don't really expect them to, raise their hand and answer. Instead, these are questions that are intended to provoke thought. And so we are going to look for some good questions in Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. And we're going to do so by searching for question marks. So here's one. Oh, who can express what the state of a soul in such circumstances is? All that we can possibly say about it gives but a very feeble, faint representation of it. 'Tis inexpressible and inconceivable, for who knows the power of God's anger? Ooh, so we could maybe use that. We'll keep that in mind. That's our fifth one. This is the one that was analyzed in the video. How can you rest one moment in such a condition? And then looks like the other two are questions from the questions that I embedded. So why don't we use this one, because this is the one that was discussed in the video. So just to get a little bit of context, I'm going to bounce back a little bit and see what it is that he's talking about. So he talks about how many people are adopting his beliefs, and they're happy. Their hearts are filled with love. Okay. And then he says, how awful is it to be left behind at such a day, to see so many others feasting while you're pining and perishing, to see so many rejoicing and singing for joy of heart, while you have cause to mourn for sorrow of heart and howl for vexation of spirit. How can you rest one moment in such a condition? All right, so basically here he's giving his congregation a choice. Do you want to be in the group of people who are feeling love and joy, or do you want to be in the group of people who are mourning and feeling sorrow of heart and howling for vexation of spirit? Well, we know the obvious choices. No one really wants to be unhappy, and so the choice seems pretty obvious. So he says, how can you rest one moment in such a condition? And so why don't we use that question? Control copy. So Edwards also uses rhetorical questions to make maybe the members of his congregation really think about their choices. He tells them they can adopt his religious fervor. We spell fervor. Is it an O-R? Yeah. Or they can suffer and be unhappy. So do you see how I'm providing a little bit of context by kind of summarizing what led to that rhetorical question? It helps it make a little bit more sense. So Edward also uses rhetorical questions to make the members of his congregation really think about their choices. He tells them that they can adopt his religious fervor or they can suffer and be unhappy. To which he says, how can you rest one moment in such a condition? By asking this question, he suggests he makes the congregation think that there really is no choice. People want to be happy, don't want to suffer. All right, so we have covered word choice, imagery, word choice, and rhetorical devices. So at this point, I'm going to look and see what it is that I've written and try to figure out how to conclude the paragraph. So Jonathan Edwards uses vivid imagery, powerful word choice, and rhetorical devices in Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God to persuade his congregation to be more devout in their Christianity. For instance, Edwards writes, "The God that holds you over the pit of hell, much as one holds a spider, some loathsome insect, over the fire, abhors you and is dreadfully provoked." In this example of imagery, Edwards uses the image of a spider being held by a critical God. We are the spiders, and this image emphasizes how loathsome Edwards thinks God sees us. How loathsome, because it is our job to be less loathsome. Edwards uses language carefully to convey, I need to add something about his purpose by becoming, autocorrect, more devout. Edwards uses language carefully to convey God's anger. Let's put a little transitional word there. Also, Edwards uses language carefully to convey God's anger. One example of this is his use of the word provoked in saying that God's anger is provoked by humans. It suggests that we bear the responsibility for this anger. Only through being a good Christian, according to Edwards, can we make amends for this. So again, I took my explanation of this word straight from the answer in Actively Learn. And I'm going to add another little transitional word. Finally, Edwards, I'm going to take that also out because I just used it earlier. Finally, Edwards uses rhetorical questions to make the members of his congregation really think about their choices. Or lack of choices, actually. He tells them that they can adopt his religious fervor or they can suffer and be unhappy, to which he says, how can you rest one moment in such a condition? By asking this question, he makes the congregation think that there really is no choice. People want to be happy. They don't want to suffer. All right, so I'm going to look back up at my first sentence, which is kind of our topic sentence. And I'm going to kind of reiterate that at the bottom as a closing sentence. So we talked about how he uses imagery, word choice, rhetorical devices to persuade his congregation to be more devout in their Christianity. So I'm going to take a little bit of the context that we learned from the videos. I'm going to say overall, Edwards let's say mission was to convince, because this is persuasive, right? Convince members of his congregation, said that a lot, right? Who had become, not even a word, who had become, in his mind, lazy Christians, to adopt his view of Christianity. He does this by carefully choosing language shows God's anger and makes his congregation think undone and all right, guys, this is a long video, and so kudos to you if you were able to sit through the whole thing, but I thought that it would be helpful for you to see someone go through the process of writing a paragraph. It's not perfect. I probably would go through it and maybe change a few things, but I've taken the examples that I found in the videos and in the reading, and I've embedded those examples in quotation marks, and I've tried to explain how those examples help Edwards achieve his purpose. And so it's a long paragraph, but you know, I'm an English teacher, so I use lots of words. Let me know if you have any questions. Make sure that you are answering the Google Forms, answering those questions in your attendance so that I can be sure to count you as present. Also, before I forget, although I am in a Google Doc here, my preference would be that you would take this, if you were to write in a doc, although I would probably write mine in your actual question assignment. So let me show you what you're going to want to do with this when you submit. A lot of you have already submitted already. I think I've gotten about 18 of these paragraphs so far. Here we go. I need to be in student view to show you what to do. So here we go. So there's paragraph. Again, remember you need to click submit assignment. And then Control V, copy this big old paragraph in here. And then I would click submit assignment again. And that way I have access to it right here in Canvas. All right, guys, good luck. Let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you. And I will talk to you Monday at, is it 1:30 or 2:30? I think it's 1:30. It's on the One Stop Shop. Take care. Have a good weekend.